underestimate
the power
of a single
conversation.
it could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
conversations that matter.
Hello. So we want to know about your romantic. Tony, help me out here.
Relationships
Relationships. That's right.
and
Relationship
experiences in your relationships.
That's right. That's what we're going to talk about today in Chatline. And we do have people from different parts of the United States joining us today. And so before we even start with that, I want to ask you a question: yes or no, and why? Long distance relationships. Your thoughts, EJ? Let's start with you.
Personally, yeah. That I'm I almost said I'm down for it. I'm okay with long distance relationships.
Have you ever been in a long distance relationship?
No.
No.
No, but I think I'll be okay, especially just with my situation where I move a lot, so I feel like it's a requirement for me to be okay with it.
Okay, Nala. Nala, I want to know your take on long distance relationships.
You know, before I was in one, I would have said no. It's hard to be in a long distance relationship because you have to have a high level of trust, you have to have a high level of your own personal maturity. Now that I'm in one, I think everyone should have at least one. It teaches you a lot about yourself and how you interact with other people, what you can work on, and, teaches you a lot about who you're in a relationship with. So I think long distance relationships are a great way for you to be in a relationship with someone.
Cool. What about you, Tony? What are your thoughts?
Long distance friendships are already hard enough for me, Arnie. And just with the lifestyle that I have, I feel like you have to be able to be in a mental space to and have the time to invest and set aside time for long distance relationship. Whereas if it's in person, you have there's more convenience there a little bit. So if I were to, you know, because I'm in the camp right now of I'm not looking actively for a relationship. So it's not that I'm against long distance, but it's not my preference. Yeah, like if someone were to come where I really want to make it work with them, then maybe. But they have to be really, really amazing, I think, for that to happen.
See, I've had both in the past, and I had one where it worked out really well because, like you said, Nala, you got to have that trust, and that trust was there, and everything was great because then now you're still free to do things on your own, and then when they do visit, then that's when you can hang out with each other. But I also had one where I was in a relationship with a person who needed somebody. And so it was harder for them. And it just, for them, they had to have somebody there in close proximity and not necessarily the long distance. And so that one didn't work out too well because obviously, if they're not near you, then they're going to try to find somebody else who is nearer to them. And so that's when I realized, oh, yeah, this whole long distance thing, I don't think works for some people, even though it works for others, right?
And I think that's an interesting thing to pick up on is it it can work for different people. It's about the chemistry that you have with a person, because me and my current partner, whenever we're together, when we first got together, I never thought I'd be in a long distance relationship with someone, but it's just our personalities worked so well for the situation that we had that, then I was convinced. I think it takes a certain chemistry for you to be able to make that kind of stuff work. And like you said, Arnie, it's a matter of being able to find things to do on your own when you're in a long distance relationship. and being able to fill your time, not necessarily with that person, but being able to have other things that will help you in bridging the gap between the time you see each other.
And I agree. And I also think that maturity has something to do with it too, because when when you're still young, sometimes it's different. And I think when you're mature, it it gives you a better perspective. And then I think that's also better. Well, that's cool. So then the other thing I wanted to ask you all is, when you're getting to know somebody for the very first time, who should pay? Because that's always the question, right? Will it be the gentleman? Will it be the woman? Who should pay for the first time you all decide to go on a date?
Mhm.
Why are you laughing, EJ?
Okay, personally, probably whoever invited, whoever whoever asked for the date, I guess is like that who should pay. But personally as well, I think I would still like, regardless of who invited. I feel like I'd still feel compelled to volunteer to pay.
Compelled sounds forced.
No, it's like, well, it's is it like really forced if it's like yourself? Like like it won't feel right to me if I don't offer to pay. So like I would offer to pay.
Societal norms are strong. I feel that. I personally think that a lot of the time it should just be whoever you guys agree upon. That's something that's like it's a first indicator of your compatibility with either the person you want to go out with is, can you guys agree on things like this? Because those are like the building blocks to things later. So I'm of the opinion it's whoever y'all agree upon,
See,
whether that be the guy or
I'm
girl.
a little old fashioned. I honestly think it should always be the gentleman who pays. And yes, sometimes it's not fair, especially if it is the girl who says, hey, let's go out, right? But I still think the gentleman should pay. EJ, why are you laughing?
No, it just made me think someone might say, well, it depends on where on where we're going to eat.
Interesting, right? The most expensive place. You're like,
Yeah.
ah,
Like, it,
is that
like,
your place?
let's say, just put yourselves like in the shoes of the guy, and like like you're expected to pay, and then they invite you in the most expensive restaurant there is in the area. You're like, I don't have the money for that, but I don't want to look bad.
So, see, EJ, I'm very curious about that because, like you said, you said you want to pay because you are the gentleman, right? But what if we did, pick a place that's a five-star restaurant, Michelin star type of restaurant, and you couldn't afford it? Would you suggest something else, or would you like go in debt and pay for it?
I would try to sell like places like cheaper. I would try to sell it like really well, because at the end of the day, my wallet is on the line there. So I would try to sell on like the the cheaper place. But if not, then I feel like I'll just what's the what's the right term? Like I'll just bite the bullet. Is that like the term?
Or bite the bullet and do it?
Yeah, yeah. Like is that there for just like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. Yeah. Like I guess it's a little bit of like a pride thing as well. Like uh, like my own pride of like not seeming or not saying no. I guess I just have a hard time saying no.
So,
But
what
I would still try to I'd still try to encourage them towards like maybe something I can afford.
So, what about that for the women though? Let's say you suggested a really nice place to eat, and the guy said, I can't afford that. Would you take offense to that? I mean, would you be okay not going to the place that you wanted to because of that?
No offense. Wouldn't take offense there. I feel like I'm on the I complete opposite answer of everyone. I feel like just in general, I always offer to pay for like for like everything. I'll fight you. I'll fight you for the bill. So like I'll be the one paying most of the time, unless they really really insist. But then I guess it depends on how good you're
Actually,
at in insisting.
they pretend to go to the bathroom, but actually they want to pay the
That's
cabinet.
that's what I do. That's my I always end up going in with
Yeah,
that
I
as
don't
well.
ever give them the chance. I just, yes, the ticket
Yeah,
will go here. Thank you.
exactly now.
Okay, so then on that end, EJ, if the girl just all of a sudden starts paying, even though you insist on paying because you're the guy, how would you take that?
Oh man, like the it's already in transaction. Like she already paid. Like I wouldn't feel like I just putting myself in that position. I wouldn't feel good about that. I think I might ask if we can go to like another place for like maybe like bubble tea or like coffee, just so I can treat her to something, because I feel bad if I just let it end like that. Where like especially if I was the one who invited her out to eat, and then she pays for the meal. Like I feel like really really bad about that. Like to the point where I think I won't be able to sleep.
See,
Because
and
it's like one of those like those moments sometimes where you remember something really embarrassing from your childhood and you get like a physical reaction to it. It'll be like that for me, so I have to do something to make up to it.
see, now you guys are making me wonder now because when I used to go out with people and I would insist on paying because, I'm the independent type who thinks we should, you know, I don't know. I got to the point where I felt like I was the one paying all the time. And then when I didn't pay, they kind of like, oh, you're not paying today?
Disappointed. Expect
Oh,
that actually it relates to Tracy's comment in the live chat. She said she won't take offense. I think she was talking about when you were saying like he says that he can't afford. She said money conversations are important. At least he knows how much money he has. Now, if it's chronically an issue, then that's a different conversation.
Okay.
So over time, it's like repeatedly, just like what you said, like
so it
you end
becomes
up
a
being the
habit.
one constantly paying
Yeah,
every time.
and I think that could go for either side, right? Like if it's the
True.
girl who's always playing versus the guy's always paying, it can get old real fast. So that's why I stick to whoever pays. It should be who you all both agree on. Like me and my boyfriend, when we go on dates, we don't quibble over it. Like if we always talk about it beforehand of like, hey, where are you financially? Do you want me to take this? I can take this if you want to. And we kind of agree on that whenever we go. So that way there's not a question of like who's going to pay, or there's not one person who feels like they're dominating all of those things.
Now, can I ask how long have you been dating? How long have
We,
you guys been together, boyfriend and girlfriend?
my boyfriend and I have just celebrated 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow!
Congrats.
Congrats. Okay, so this is my question because there might be those who are out there like maybe they're only a few months into their relationship. Like, how do you even start like to say something like that? Like I feel like I would feel awkward doing that even with just my friends. Like, how do you even start bringing up like, are you financially okay right now? Like to handle, you know what I mean? Like, how do you say that?
Sure. I think it came up pretty easily for us. I make it a point to ask whenever I would, before he and I got into a relationship, I made it a point to ask of like, hey, are you comfortable if a girl is the one paying, or are you the kind who needs to pay all the time? And when my boyfriend and I started dating, it was always a thing of I asked him outright. I'm like, I'm not the type of person who takes, other people paying for me easily. And we early on in the relationship, like I joked about it the other day actually. Early on in the relationship, I asked, I'm like, hey, is there any way that we can make this more even? Because to me, it's like it shouldn't be a scary question to ask, right? Like a lot of people find that to be like almost a taboo kind of question, but it's to me it's an important one to ask. You want to make sure that you both are comfortable understanding each other's limits. So I'm the type of person who says like if it's a question that you think you're going to have, bring it up as soon as you can, because otherwise it's going to fester in your head, and that's not a way to start any sort of relationship, friendship or romantic, you know?
Wow, mic drop.
Which is true, and I think once you get to know each other and know where you are in the stage of your life, then you could kind of know if, like, look, they're still in college and I already have a job, so then maybe it's okay that I pay, but then hopefully when he gets out of school, then he could start paying, right? I guess that's how it is. Okay, so who should be the one to ask the person out? That's my question to you guys.
Whoever developed the crush first. I feel like.
How do you know who developed the crush
Oh,
first?
yeah. Um. Well, if it's like sort of like mutual, I guess, at the same time, and you kind of both know already, then, uh, hmm, I don't know if I'm just like old fashioned, but I think the guy should be the one to kind of like toughen up, like put on that brave face and say and like break the ice, break the ice in this in that stalemate. I feel like that should be the case if it's at the same time. But if it's something like uh, you develop feelings first before like they and for them they don't notice because sometimes people can be dense. They don't notice. They don't notice, or they have a suspicion. They have a suspicion, but like they
Are you talking about me, EJ? I am dense. I am so dense. I am.
well,
Anyway,
I'm not naming names. I'm not naming names. But I will say, if someone is like, like, and for me, just speaking as a guy, like like sometimes I do notice it, but want, I don't want to say anything on fear of like being wrong, because uh, like I don't know if you've seen, it's sort of like a joke now that's kind of gone around where if a guy receives a compliment, it's like there's two sides of his brain that's like going, are they, is she flirting with me or is she just being friendly with me? Like like there's two sides of that, and it's the same thing. If you notice, you notice that that someone likes you, you still have that feeling of, what if I'm wrong? What if this is just in my mind? What if I'm putting meaning to things that don't have meaning?
See, like for me, everyone knows I'm outgoing, okay? But if I like somebody, I can't ask them out. I could ask anyone out and I say, hey, you want to hang out? You want to do this? I could do that to anybody. But when I start to like someone, I can't because I think, like, like EJ, if I said, hey, EJ, let's go hang out, and you say no to me, I'm okay because, you could say
Yeah.
no. But if I asked a person out that I liked and then they said no, I think I would get devastated. So I really can't approach people. And that's why, like, my friends make fun of me because every time I see like a good looking guy, I will flirt and I will make comments. And they're like, look at you. And I'm like, yeah, that's because I don't like him. If I liked him, I wouldn't even be able to go up to him. Is that just me?
No, no, I think I've heard, or I've read an article on that where like your behavior kind of changes if it's like the person you like, and it's actually one of the telltale signs that someone apparently someone likes you is like when they behave, usually behave this way, and then when it's with you they kind of behave in like an entirely different way. Like I guess that's like they say that's when you notice, although I'm not 100% sure about the validity of that. So don't take my word for it.
Okay, so for Nala, I want to know well, first of all, where did you meet your boyfriend? And then, because, you guys are not like in the same district. And then who asked who out first, or who, like, started talking to who first?
Oh man, he's gonna get real embarrassed when he watches this. And
That's okay.
so we actually all met. We actually met during a church activity during COVID. Our districts actually were one of the first to have this kind of event, and so in the planning of it, that's kind of how we met. Is when we were play testing the technology that we were going to be using and having our rehearsals and stuff. Is kind of where I saw first met him. I met him in a in a chat room where we got put together randomly for like 5 seconds. He got up like he made one funny comment and it just kind of stuck in my head for the rest of the activity. And it wasn't even I could when he asked, I couldn't even remember what it was. It was funny enough that I remembered his name and his face, that I was like, okay. And so then throughout the planning, I kind of like I would clock him. I'd be like, hey, there's that guy again. Yeah, that's cool. And afterwards, actually, my friend was the one who gave my number to him and was like, hey, he's single and he's a good guy. You want me to I'm giving your number to him. I was like, I've been single for like 2 years, I guess. Sure, why not? But actually, who asked who out? It was funny because we both kept kind of a running tally of like how close we were to thinking that we liked the other person. And I think eventually I asked him, I was like, are we official? Have we reached that point where we are official? And I was like, he was like, I think I think we are. I think we can be. I was like, that's so when are we gonna tell our parents? We actually went about it a kind of backwards. We both kind of agreed that we were a thing first, and then we talked to our parents, which that's that wasn't the right way to go about it. We learned that afterwards. But yeah, I think if you technically look at it, I might have been the one to ask. I didn't ask him out directly, but I asked if we were official, and he was okay with that.
Okay, but first of all, how did I not hear about this activity? Because during COVID, we had nothing going on.
It was Northwest California. I thought you came from South California. Do I remember that
No, I was
correctly?
in Northeast. Okay, maybe that's why that
Oh,
didn't happen because I was in Northeast.
yeah. So it was Northwest California at the time with Texas, and before the South Central states became a thing.
Mm. Oh, I think that's because I had just moved to Texas. I think right before COVID. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that's probably. But that would have been cool.
It was cool. I at least think so.
See, and with like EJ was saying about Tony, when guys had asked me out in the past, like I didn't know that they liked me. I thought they were just being nice, kind of a thing. And so that was kind of weird for me. But I don't know. Like I said, I can't talk to people that I actually like.
I think I can't ask them to something, but I can start conversations. Cause I feel like I've gotten to the point where I've learned to, cause I may look social now, but I wasn't like that, like way like back in the day. It would be really hard for me to be social and to talk to somebody that I like. But now I feel like just through a lot of different things that I've had to do and that I've experienced, I feel more comfortable like striking up a conversation, even if it's in person, but just actually like getting to ask them to go and like get to know them more, like, oh, let's like grab some coffee or something. No, like I would be too shy. I would be too shy to do that. So
Yeah,
it's up to you guys.
I could go up to random strangers, like somebody I've never met. I mean, I'm so comfortable doing that, but I'm not comfortable at all
I
talking to
would
a
say
girl.
this, Arnie. Like, if I like someone, I would tell them. Because, like, for me now, the mindset I try to keep is like, it's like a band aid. Just like, yeah, it might hurt, but I feel like I would regret it more if I didn't tell.
And how
Like,
would you tell them? Like, what would you say? Hey, I like you.
straight up. Yeah, just straight up. I'll just be honest with it. Like, cause there, I feel like if you like, let's say you do it through like text, you text them. Like you don't want it to be like a long-winded message before you get to the point. I feel like I would just get to the point. I would just tell them, straight up, because if it's like a long paragraph, they don't want to read that. even if like let's say you're talking to them like through a call or in person, and you kind of have that sort of like explanation first before you get to the point. I feel like that's too long. That's too long. Like so for me, it's like I said, it's like a band-aid. I won't give myself a chance to back down. Just like I said, I feel like I'd regret it if I don't say it.
Okay. And so what if you did tell somebody you liked them and then all of a sudden they said, "Yeah, I don't like you."
It's fine. It's fine.
Really?
You know?
Would it really be fine though?
Yeah, because the thing is, like, when you tell someone you like them, you don't, like, I guess like, for me, when I tell someone I like them, it's more like I'm able to say it, where I can say I tried, you know, I tried. I told them that I like them. Whether or not they like me back, that's a different thing. That's a different thing altogether. And if they didn't like me, then that's fine because I was able to say how I felt. I'm not gonna go by my life going. What if I just asked her out? What if she liked me? Like, and now that I know that she doesn't, well, and life goes on. Life goes on for me.
Does it really go on though? Like, is it really that easy to go
Yeah,
on?
it's like for me, it's once I'm able to say it, like there's a sort of like liberating feeling for me where it doesn't really matter anymore that she doesn't like me. It's just that like I won't go by my life thinking about the what if.
What about you, Tony? Would you tell somebody you like them if you like them?
Okay, so I feel like I'm always like this. I have like a question before answering the question because when we're talking about like, is this at the point where we're saying like we want to get to know them better and
Yes.
like we were interested? Okay, because like
Yes.
because sometimes we just see somebody and like, oh, he's really cute. Like, am
No,
I gonna
no,
talk
not
to
no,
him?
not
Or
that way.
like,
No.
like one of those things. Okay, so this is like I want to get to know it. I don't think I would say it exactly like I like you. I feel like I would find a roundabout way to say it, like you're really interesting to me and I'd like to get to know you more. I feel like I would just add a lot more words, a lot more words than just to be like direct. I don't know if I could be direct like that, like, hey, like I really like you. I don't think I could do
To tell you, for me, I'm direct because I feel like if I put it in a long-winded message, I'll back out. I know I will. I know
that.
I'll
No,
back
mine's not even a long-winded message. It's just like, yeah, like I really like to
out, or
get
just
to know
like
you better. Yeah, like
Okay.
just
And what if he
not
says
direct.
no? I don't like you, Tony.
Yeah, that makes me sad, but I won't tell him that.
Okay, but
It's like that's okay.
how would we deal with that? Because that I think that's my fear of that's why I don't tell people I like them or I can't go up to them because I'm the type of person where if I start liking someone, like I will really like liking them, and then if they don't reciprocate, then I would feel like, dang, what did I do? What's wrong with me? You know?
I would say, guys, don't think of it like that way. Don't think of it that way. If like just think of it, this way. If it's not them, it's gonna be someone else. Yeah, and someone else that will like you better. Someone else who will see what's there to like about you, right? You know, uh, and that I guess that's for me. That's like what I think about it now. It's just well, she didn't see what's there to like about me. It didn't work out. It's fine. It's fine.
So
I'll
Nala, you were saying that you kind of brought it up of like what stage of the relationship you're in, but who said who liked who first?
I think it was him. He might disagree. Like I said, we kind of kept track of like who, how close are we to saying it? It's kind of a cringe memory now, but I'm pretty sure it was him first. But to kind of, I know I've been in a relationship for 4 years. To kind of add to that conversation though, of like, what do you do if you get rejected? I actually have been the type to be like gung ho. I'm gonna give a whole confession, and I've gotten shot down so many times in my life. The easiest thing to do to get over the situation is to one, remember a person has their own feelings and thoughts. Can't control it. You can only control your own. And the best thing that I found to be able to get over those relationship like woes or lack of relationship in that situation is to remove yourself kind of like from situations where you'd be sad, because like your instinct is to isolate, kind of wallow in your feels, be alone, and just kind of process it. I found processing is a lot easier when you get out, go do things with your friends, go spend time with people who um, understand your worth and will make you feel better. Like spending time with my family has always been a big thing for me. I would go and hang out with my siblings or my parents, and I would go out and hang out. Or even if you have friends, go hit, go 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 hit the arcade and have some fun, get some laughs in, and it'll help you feel a lot better about yourself if you can do stuff like that more often.
Okay. So then my next question is like, what is a make it or break it for the person you're looking for? Like for me, I need to find somebody who can make me laugh because life is so serious, and so I need somebody who's funny, who can make me laugh, and bring excitement to life. What about you, Tony?
Why am I first?
Because I'm curious to know.
For me, I do like laughter, but I also like someone that I just won't get tired of talking to, because
Okay.
I love conversations, even outside of chat line. I love conversations even outside of chat line. Just being able to talk about anything and everything, and not being intimidated by the kinds of questions that I'll ask, because I'll ask some really like like off the wall, like deep questions sometimes, just randomly. Like we all just have woken up, and I'll like send a message to my group chat, like, so what do you think about like how people like some
That actually
psychological
caught
question?
me off guard with like just the, the insane question that I didn't know what to say. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what
so
my thoughts about that are. Like give me a little more time on this.
I think that's why we get along, Tony, because I think I'm the same way.
it's fun, right? It's fun to be able to do that kind of stuff, and I feel like if you have that, and if you have like somebody who can kind of like volley off of you or like banter with you in that way, like that always makes for interesting days, beside like all the other stuff. Like being cute is nice, but like being able to carry a conversation, like
Much better.
that's
Yeah. So, Nala, when you were not in a relationship, what were you looking for when you were still single?
I think the biggest thing for me was just similar values, because if you have opposing values, if you guys have opposing mindsets, it makes for a contentious existence. So for me, like all of the big things that I care about, like my religion is a big thing, obviously. Even things like uh, s- social issues, moral issues, all of those things that if you guys don't have that in common, if I didn't have that in common with a person, doesn't matter how cute I found the guy, it doesn't matter how like much that guy made me laugh. Eventually things would fizzle out because it would always devolve into arguments or trying to get one person to come to the other side. That's no way to have a relationship. So for me, biggest thing was always just making sure that you guys agreed on what was important, which is why my boyfriend and I have lasted for years.
How about you, EJ?
I'm, I'm just like for me looking at my parents, looking at how my mom like supports my dad and like his duty. Like for me, and for me, I also hold like quite a bit, like I wouldn't say a lot, but quite a lot of duties, as well. So for me, it's just someone who wouldn't make me choose between them and my duty, because I feel like like, and this might seem harsh, but my answer to that is not gonna be, you're always always gonna lose that. Then you're always gonna lose that fight. You know, if you make me choose between you and my duty, you're always gonna lose that fight. Yeah.
So then,
It's not something that I want to do, but it's something that I would have to do. You know.
so then with these expectations or these things that we're looking for, how soon is this brought up? Like, is this like a first time going out kind of a conversation we're having? Is this a conversation we're having after going out like 10 times, 20 times? When does this conversation happen?
Well, before you agree that you know that you want to date each other, before you agree to that, I feel like that should be a conversation. Your what's the term for it? Your deal breakers, your deal
Deal
breakers
breakers, yeah.
should be brought up before you agree to make it official.
Okay. How about you, Tony? When do you think that conversation should happen?
I think it depends on what the expectations are, because I feel like the one that I mentioned, like comparative to Nala's answer, which was like spot on, by the way, just like really really good stuff for those who are listening. I hope you're taking notes. Um, Expectations like that, like the one that I mentioned, that's more of preference, right? But expectations that like Nala brought up, that's something that's fundamental for your relationship to even work, which is why that they've lasted for 4 years. Like that's something that I think evolves or will come up as you are, growing through that relationship. But like on the onset of getting to know each other, I think that also comes up too. Because for me personally, before I, seriously decide to start a relationship with someone, because when you start a relationship, that's with the intention of marriage. So in my mind, it's like, if I'm going to take this chance on this person, like, are they meeting the things that I would want, like in terms of their values, how they, when you're getting to know them, you can kind of see like what their life is like, just like by talking to them, because I feel like what makes it easy now is like the technology that we have. Like we get to message people, we get to see like their social media and see what their life is like. Of course, it's not everything, right? But when you're talking to a person before you even get into a formal relationship, you get like this insight of what they're kind of like in their day to day, and how they behave in like these different environments, whether it's their responsibilities with their family. So setting those expectations, I think, depends on what you're expecting. I guess it's a long-winded answer, like like kind of summarize in that way. Like if you're expecting like the financial stuff, like what we were talking about earlier, that's something that would probably come up once you're already like officially in a relationship, right? um Unless, but that might depend on you too. Like if you're later on in life, like myself, like you're in your 30s, and you're the type where you just want to lay it all out on the table, like, okay, hey, this is my situation, this is the kind of finances that I have right now, this is the kind of debt that I'm in right now. I just want to let you know, like, this is stuff that I have going on with me, if that's something that you are you need to know. I guess it depends on like the person, right? So it's something that I feel like naturally evolves. Nala, I don't know if that's how it worked with you and your boyfriend, like how these different expectations started coming up. I feel like it's hard to say that it just comes up at one singular point, like your like checkpoints, right? It's just stuff that kind of develops over time.
Yeah, for sure. Like for for my boyfriend and I, when we talked about these expectations, it was like what EJ said. We said all of these things before we started dating, like brought up what was important to us, um brought up the expectations for whenever we'd go on dates and stuff. Like, I think that was just due to the stage of life we were both in. We are both out of school, we were both working already. So we were in a good state to kind of like lay that all out. We have the same expectations for how our life is going to progress after this, especially when we decide to get married. Um, and I think, like you were saying, Tony, that'll just depend on where you are in your life and where both of you are in your life, right? Like, People who might start dating in their early 20s are going to be a lot, life looks a lot different than when you're in your later 20s or even later in life. And I think those are the kinds of things that you just have to fill out for yourself. I'm just a big fan of laying it all out at the beginning, so that way I'm I'm not the type of person to waste time.
Good for
and
you, Nella. Good for you.
and I, it like I like what EJ said earlier. It's like ripping off a band-aid. 30 seconds of courage will save you so much time of like just wondering and wishing that you could have just gotten that out of the way. So I think, in my opinion, right away, as soon as you can get it, have that conversation already and lay those things flat.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, in my younger years, I think I was always scared to say what my expectations were, and it ended up you know having a relationship with somebody for an extended period of time when I kind of knew in my head it wasn't going to work out, but then I was thinking maybe we could make it work, kind of a thing.
It's
And
like
then
applying for your first job, Arnie. You just say yes to get hired, but once
I
you're actually
think
working
so.
there, you're like, huh.
Yes,
They're actually
because
there, you're like, huh.
like, like, don't get me wrong, they were nice. Everything was great. The only problem was, like you said, some of our values didn't match up necessarily. And, but I'm thinking, oh, it's okay. They could change. They can change. But I guess no, they can't. So that just kind of makes it. But what's a deal breaker for you guys? Like, what is something like, it doesn't matter how nice the person is, it doesn't matter how gorgeous they are, it doesn't matter how rich they are. What is one thing that is a deal breaker for you?
I think it kind of preempted that with my answer earlier, but it's gonna be that basically, like not even if they, like I can already tell, oh, they're going to make me choose between them and my duties, but um, just someone who's like already, like, let's say they're already uh judging what I spend my time on, which is a lot of it is in my duties.
Man,
If they
you guys are so deep. Like, for me,
it's, yeah, with,
my deal breaker is somebody who smokes. Period. I can't stand anybody who smokes. You know, like,
I mean, true. It's like, and for other things, I don't mind. I don't mind putting all of like my other personal things like aside for them. But when it comes to like my duties, that's just the one thing I can, like one thing I can put above them. You know, or wait, did I say that? I feel like I said that wrong. That's the only thing that I have to put above them. So, sorry. I just realized. No, I just realized the mistake in my sentence.
what about you, Tony? What's a deal breaker for you?
I feel like it's always evolved through the years and uh, just with time like changing. But one thing that's stayed kind of constant with me is um how they treat other people. I feel like how someone can treat someone even if like they can't do anything for them, or like regardless of what their status is, regardless of um whoever that other person may be, like how like the guy will can treat that other person. That's something that I super like highly respect. Just in any situation, like let's say it's someone like of who would be considered like lower status, like they make less money than them, or like just how their perspective is when it comes to different people, like they treat people fairly, and they don't look down on other people like in that respect. I really appreciate people like that. So in general, so like all the more so because I feel like if it's hard to, that's one of my values, um that's really important to me, that kind of like stems from that idea of love, right? So like going back to Nala's point, like being able to have somebody who can kind of, level things out that way. I know it's another deep one, Arnie. Sorry. Sorry. But yeah, that's just one of the things that I feel like has been a constant as the years have gone in terms of deal breakers. So yeah.
Well, I don't. I mean, I can't ask Nala what her deal breaker is because obviously her boyfriend hasn't broken any of those deals. But if there
I've
was
had deal
something,
breakers in the past. I mean, like if you want a shallow one that's always gotten to me is if you don't know how to clean. I'm a very particular person. I'm the type of person that when I've gone away on like trips at work, if somebody was at my desk, I knew because they didn't put it back in its place.
oh wow.
But yeah, I deal breakers exist. I've had them at one point.
And so your boyfriend is a clean person.
I've made compromises. I'm in a long distance relationship, so it doesn't bother me yet.
Or that was like a really active. I know this sentence caught me off guard. It just made me laugh.
He's not a messy person. It's just that we have different standards, and I've learned to grow with that.
And see, that was going to be my next question, where how far do you go when it comes to compromising or losing yourself? Like, is it one of those where you would change completely for the person, or how much of a compromise are you willing to give and take, Nala?
I think one of the things that I've realized, like, you know, as much as my boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years, I've had other relationships prior to him, and one thing that not just those relationships, but like watching my parents in their relationship has always taught me is that if any change happens, it shouldn't be for another person. It shouldn't be for the sake of your relationship. It should be for your sake. So I made that joke. I made that observation jokingly, but my boyfriend has changed in the course of our relationship for his own benefit. Like, yes, he's a little messy, but he's made an effort to whenever I'm cleaning, at the same time he'll go and do his laundry too. Or if you know it's been a long day for me and he knows that I love cleaning to de-stress, he'll be the first to offer like, "Hey, do you want to come clean with me?" And I'm like, "No, but okay, you're right. I should go." So, you know, I think it's a matter of like knowing who you are and
Mm.
not losing sight of who that is in the relationship, because that's a mark of a good relationship in my opinion, is that you don't lose sight of who you are, and you make every effort to be able to maintain that those core values that you guys agreed upon at the beginning and not change on those, only changing to make those better.
And you know, um, I've seen it in relationships where a person kind of lost their sense of identity because of getting into a relationship, and they're saying, oh, it's just a compromise. But like, where do you draw the line between compromising and losing your identity?
Mm. It makes me think of like what my parents told me about, like, like the things that you're compromising now, that you things you don't like about, you might not like about them, but you're saying, oh, like it'll be worth it, like they said that those are the things that you would think of when you might not be in the best of terms with them, you know.
Yeah, so like I want to ask like someone who's actually married, now that you've been married for a while, um, you know, are you the same person you are today? Have you changed completely different to make your wife happy? Randy, would you like to answer that question for us since you're the only married person in here?
Um, hmm. I would say I changed some. Identity wise, I'm still the same. I'm still the same. I haven't really compromised myself. There's changes, but they weren't compromises. They were actually necessary.
What
So
about your wife? Is your wife the same from when she was single to what she is now?
she's more patient now because of all the years of trying to change me on certain things. Obviously, she's accepted, my quirks as well. So, but it's a give and take, right? At the same time, um, hmm, yeah, I think she's still the same. She's the awesome person I married. Yeah.
Because and I think my other fear of, because I know there's some people who are set where they don't want to get married, because of various reasons. And so I think one of my things is I understand we have to compromise because that's what you do in relationships. But um, I've seen it where people have like, no, you can't go out with your friends. You have to go out with me, kind of a thing.
That's kind of different, right? That's a kind of it's a character flaw in some ways because it's kind of like you're insecure about something. So to me, the changes that do happen between two people after a while, it's not so much a compromise but growth, you know personal growth in some ways. So it's not really so much a compromise but growth in that you've you've learned some things are acceptable and some things are not. And because everybody's not the same, right? We're all not the same. We don't have the same experiences. We don't have the same uh, upbringing and all that. So we have different perspectives. So it's a matter of growth.
Okay. So Nala, I know you said that, your boyfriend has, changed a little bit and trying to, but do you feel like you've compromised your self identity in any way?
I think it's less of a compromise and more of like an affirmation. The right person, I believe, will make you feel more like yourself more than anyone might else. Like, your friends will bring out different sides of you and will make you feel different things. But for me, my boyfriend and spending time with him has made me realize more what I care about and what I'm willing and not willing to do. And the fact that he respects a lot of those boundaries and allows me to, say yes, say no to things, and be truthful about it has made me very, very sure of who I am. And the compromises that we have, the compromises that I've seen him make, are a lot more for like our future together and where we're going, rather than like compromises on the values that he has and the things that he cares about. And same thing for myself. So it's less about compromising my identity and more of like things that I might have held on to out of pure pride and just pettiness. So those are the kinds of things that I think I've compromised on is growth rather than staying stagnant.
Yes, and I've seen people who's changed, but they've changed for the better, which I think is great. But I don't like to see when the other person tries to control the other person. And I guess that's true. That's when you realize maybe that's not really the person for you, right? So now, like I said, most of us here are single, and so these are kind of conversations that matter. But my question to you, Rani, is as you're raising your children, what kind of advice do you give them when it comes to either asking somebody out or things like that? Are you the type that says telling your boys, hey, you're the guy, you better pay for everything, or it's equal opportunity, let the girl pay too?
Um, yeah, I would tell them pay for everything. Uh, have that 30 seconds of courage and just going through and say, hey, I like you. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It doesn't, it's not something that you Because you know, after a while, when you really like somebody and you haven't built up the courage to say anything, it kind of makes you cuckoo. So you know, and you wasted all kinds of time, right? You waste all kinds of time where you could move on or pursue. So if they reject you, just say why not? Because you know, obviously there's some kind of reason, and figure it out. And maybe, hey, you and I should get to know each other more then, type thing. But why waste all that time and going, oh, I really like this person, but I can't say anything because I'm so scared. And then somebody else beat me to it, and I go, oh, what am I to do? So sad. No, just be forward. Be do you know, get that courage, bring it up, and just go for it.
Okay, so then when we start having courage and we just start telling people we like them and it doesn't work out, we're gonna come after you.
Why not? You know,
Maybe don't
it's
do this where you like you go you just have like a list of like person now or list of people now. Where like, oh, I like these people. I'm gonna tell all of them that I like them. Like, no,
you
no,
know what? It might make the world
don't
a
do
little
that.
bit better. It might make the whole world a little bit better because you know some people become really possessive and really they don't grow. So it takes longer for that growth to happen unless you have that exposure.
Okay, that's good to know because like I said, um, I've been in relationships in the past. I am single now, and I think I have that fear. Back when I was younger, I don't think I had fear. I think back then I could just tell people, and the older you get, I think that the harder it gets, or maybe there's just not enough people in the pond. There's not really a lot of fish in the sea like they say there is.
They're still there. There's people there. You know, again, it's because a lot of them are standing off, waiting. So yeah, if you don't make that courage, it's not likely that you'll try to do it until you push yourself to do it. So go ahead, go for it. It's a rejection. It's I mean, you know, it's like what did they say? A brave man dies once, but someone who's um not brave dies 1,000 times. It's the same thing for the same thing, right? If you hold on to something
Yeah,
and
you just kind of
you don't
think,
have the courage to
oh,
say, "Hey, I like you," and then you get shot down. Hey, okay, done.
because if you don't tell them, you can just kind of like every day of your life, you're thinking, you're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it, every day of your life that you still like them, you're thinking of like, what if I just, what if I just asked them, like, like if you get turned down, that's it, that's just the end of it, like you can move on now, you know,
But
Like,
can you?
not immediately, not immediately. I would say that not immediately, but it opens the door for you, because you're not thinking about the what if anymore, because you already know the answer. You're not
Eh,
thinking like the
I
what
know that feeling too. You go, oh,
Yeah, and that's where mint chocolate chip ice cream comes in, EJ.
yeah, it hurts. Like it will hurt if you get rejected, but like it opens the door for you to move on with your life, you know. And
exactly.
who knows, somewhere down the line, maybe they like you back or not. You know, no matter like what happens, just keep going and just trust that whoever's out there for you, like they'll happen and in the right time.
Yes,
Who
ma'am.
knows? Maybe it's on an online activity that you never thought you'd be attending.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think we just need to have more events to be able to participate in so that we can meet people in other places, because here in my part of the world, it's kind of slim pickings.
You have to create your own opportunities too.
Oh, I do. I travel like every so often and go everywhere around the world, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it hasn't
Yeah.
happened. Okay, Tony, you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
I'm just laughing because you do travel all around the world. But that's true. That's true too. What Ronnie said is that create the opportunities, right? A lot of what my older friends that I treat as like older sisters, they're always just like, it starts off as friendship. Let it start out as friendship. Like it doesn't have to be, anything more than that. And then, sometimes that friendship turn into something else when you start to see somebody differently. I forgot what the original question was though. I don't know if I was supposed to answer that.
No, I was
Am I
just
supposed to
curious
answer that?
why you were laughing at my comments.
No, I was just laughing because it's funny to see you, uh, not like in your pain, but to see you like that,
It
a
just
little
got
shy.
us. It just got me off guard. I
Well,
was like, wait, what? That's why travel.
well, I mean, yes, I do want to see the world and I want to see the different cultures and I like to experience all that. But I was always told, hey, if you can't find somebody here, go somewhere else and find people, right? So I'm trying to go places to find people, and that's not happening. Any suggestions where I should go next?
The library.
Hey, I've done that my whole high school life, and that didn't happen.
Because people were there to study.
Because I did want somebody smart.
They were probably there stressing about their exams.
I think this
Especially in
has
school.
become more of a where should Arnie go to find a man?
That'll be our next segment.
No, but seriously. And any other insights you guys want to share about, romantic expectations?
I want to hear more from Ronnie because he's the one that's actually married.
Yeah, give it
Oh,
to her.
well, so let's ask you that,
What do
Ron.
you mean? Can you elaborate what you mean by romantic expectations?
Who liked who first? You or your wife?
Oh, I liked her first.
You did? Now,
Yeah.
did she like you at all, or did she
No, she
just?
did not. She
So why
thought it
did
was
she
a
say yes
dweeb.
to you?
um, I actually had the courage to ask her out, so I asked her out, and we spent some time together, and we had fun. You know, laughing and getting to know each other.
Now, did she tell you she didn't like you?
Yeah, yeah.
Like early on, and you
Oh
just
yeah,
kept
yeah, yeah,
pursuing
yeah,
her?
yeah, yeah, yeah. She already knew I liked her. She goes, yeah, you're not getting me, she said. Yeah.
So then you made it your mission.
No, it was already a mission. It's the thing is this. When I see somebody, I already know a lot about them before, not even like 30 seconds. I understand who they are. So a lot of what they are develops after a while and say, "Oh, yeah, I was right about this person." So it's not like I was going blind into it 100%, just by talking to somebody just a little bit, I get the gist of who they are. So it makes it easier and the conversation flows better and we have time. As for romantic expectations, you have to build up to it, right? Create your opportunities and get what you get. Really, expectations kind of, it's better to have just that surprise. It's just better to have that surprise.
Yeah. Well, everyone's got different expectations, everyone has different preferences. And I think what we came up with this conversation is that, it's really important to be upfront with these expectations so that, both parties are aware of what to expect and what to anticipate. And I just want to thank you all because this was a very great conversation. And it was, I just want to thank you all for joining us today. And for our viewers out there who also put comments in the chat, thank you for chiming in. Hopefully, this conversation is something that mattered to everyone. And hopefully, we'll get something out of here. And, maybe in the future it'll be easier for us to go up to people that we like and just say, hey, I like you. So thank you all for joining, and until next time, we'll see ya.
What I ask, let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I